Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Wraith the Oblivion 20th Anniversary Edition rules by Onyx Path Publishing. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living, dead, or beyond the shroud, are completely coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your storyteller. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your storyteller this evening, Michael Diamond. My pronouns are he, him. And if you are listening to this, it is very likely that you are a member of our wonderful Patreon crew. If for whatever reason you are hearing this and you're not, it means that the Patreon is available to you to join and to help guide what we play throughout the year by voting. You can do that at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. And we're also available on YouTube and on Twitch at twitch.tv/theoldwaystwitch. So come see us and hear us play live for you and enjoy what we're getting up to. Before we get started with this evening's entertainment, because of the subject matter and because of the nature of this game, I want to put a general World of Darkness content warning, meaning this is a mature show. And there are going to be some mature things that happen in it, and there are going to be some things that you might want to be careful about. I wouldn't listen to this episode with a bunch of kids around. And also, too, if you're the type of person that doesn't deal well with death or possibly violence, potentially drug use, there'll be a list of content warnings specifically on this episode, because tonight we are going to be playing Wraith, the Oblivion. We'll be using the 25th Anniversary Edition rules of Wraith, and we are going to, with this episode, look in on 4 distinctly different lives and what makes them special and what it is about them that keeps them around, which we'll get to, promise. So I'm going to let my first player introduce themselves. So please.
Hi, I'm Allie, and I am playing Leah Olson, a housewife who is quite young.
Yeah, you're 29, it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, young is relative, certainly. But Leah lives in, is it a house or an apartment?
Oh, we live in a house. I live with my husband and my 2 beautiful children.
Wonderful. So Leah, tell me about your beautiful children, would you?
Yeah, so my children are 1 boy, 1 girl. Their names are Carlson and Julie. And I was pregnant with Carlson when I was 18. It was an accident. The condom broke and I ended up pregnant. And then I got married while I was still pregnant, but I am very cognizant of their upbringing. So I've been homeschooling them for the majority of their education. The benefit of where we live in a house is that there's other kids in the neighborhood, so they're still able to get the appropriate kind of socialization that they wouldn't necessarily receive if we lived out on a farm or something like that. So they still have like kids that are roughly their own age to play with. Since I don't really trust the general government and their ability to properly educate children, I've taken it upon myself to essentially relearn a lot of the things that I learned when I was in school, so that way I could impart the knowledge onto them. But with Carlson approaching middle school, I've been kind of toying back and forth with the idea of maybe sending him to a public school and seeing like how he handles it. And if he's too far ahead in the curriculum, I will definitely be continuing to homeschool them, because if I'm able to provide an ample and well-rounded education on my own, I definitely don't need to spend the money and time sending them to, public school where maybe they're not going to get as good of an education, but Julie would still be staying with me until she was approaching middle school age. And maybe if it works out with Carlson, it's something that I'll do with her too, but it's it would have to be like a dry run, and I would need to make sure that my husband was also okay with it. Not that he's got like the end-all say-all when it comes to their education, but I do like to keep him informed about what's going on in the house.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're your kids, so you both have some direct influence over what happens to them. So your husband Matthew, right? He's a little older than you are.
Yeah, he's 6 years older than I am.
So tell me about Matthew. What does he do for a living? What's his purpose in the sort of domestic space there? Like what kind of person is he? If you were to give him somewhat of a summary.
Well, Matthew is guarded. He spends a lot of time at work, which makes sense because he is providing for our entire household and our way of life. So he spends a fair amount of time in his office, and he's also still quite a religious man. Our children go with him every Sunday to church, but I only attend about once a month myself anymore. The congregation was not particularly kind when it came out that I was going to be having a baby so young and that I got pregnant out of wedlock. It was not a good look on the family, so I really only attend about once a month, but that's mostly just for show rather than belief in the community as a whole. But he's a good man. Matthew is a good father. He spends a fair amount of time with the kids. He's usually the one who did like a bedtime routine with them since I had them all day. He does a little bit around the house, but not as much because I am a stay-at-home mom, and he works very hard to provide for his family. And I appreciate that about him.
But he doesn't necessarily always provide everything you need, right? Financially speaking, it looks like here in your past, maybe you had to take out a bit of financial loaning to deal with some bills. Is that true?
Yeah, there was a point where he was unemployed, and I had to take out a loan because his credit has still been recovering. It's much better now that I do the majority of the bill paying and everything. But I took out a small loan that I've been able to pay back, and it was mostly to pay a little bit of bills, but it was mostly food and household necessities.
Does Matthew know about that?
Yes.
He does.
Yeah, we talked about it. I've been paying it off slowly over time with a little bit of money that I've been making from selling crocheted goods, primarily things like baby blankets and booties and sweaters and hats and things like that, mostly for children because I got very invested as part of my nesting process while I was pregnant with Carlson, and that kind of continued over while I was pregnant with Julie. And I have like a small Etsy store that I just sell things on as I can, but I don't make like massive amounts. It's mostly just when I have the time and energy to do so. But I only have like $1,500 left on this loan. It was a little over $3,000 when I took it out. So
yeah, but interest has a way of piling up, and a bookie isn't like a bank or a credit union. They're a very distinct type of loan, and I wonder if we could wax poetically a little bit about why you might choose to go to a bookie rather than a credit union or the church, or what was the impetus behind the decision to go to somewhere that was, frankly, if not gray, a little black market for money?
Well, when I applied with a bank and a credit union, I was declined because I didn't have any real credit to speak of.
I see. And at that time, Matthew didn't either? The two of you just starting out, or was he too young?
Well, Matthew had made some poor decisions in his early adulthood and got into some credit card debt that he needed help paying off before we even met. And it kind of tanked his credit, so banks weren't willing to lend to him for really anything more than maybe $1,000, which wasn't going to cut it for the necessary household expenses for basically up to 3 months. And I met my bookie through technically an underground boxing ring.
Oh, okay. It's really important for our listeners to get the connective tissue and sinew about how a homeschooling, crocheting, church-going woman somehow gets involved with a bookie to take out a loan. These are the important things. And we don't judge the story. It's not impossible for something like this to happen because people fall down on their luck all the time.
I was having trouble. Once Julie was about 3, I didn't know really who I was anymore because at that point, Carlson was 6. I was 23, 24, and I didn't have a life that wasn't centered around my kids and my husband and all of these expectations that were put on me before really I was ready for them. So I didn't get to explore anything. And I started going to boxing classes in the afternoon when my mom would be available to watch the kids, once or twice a week. And, you hang around for long enough and you get to know the people who are there well enough, you're going to be able to find the illegal fights if you want to. It provided a change, a sense of something that was more exciting than just going to practice. So I went to a few and I placed some bets and I did okay until I didn't do okay anymore and ended up owing more money.
Which brings us to tonight. It's a Wednesday night. It's probably like a lot of different Wednesday nights. You're home. You are doing that extra round of homeschooling. Today, Carson really struggled while he was trying to get a hold of the math lesson you were teaching. It's sort of one of those times where you walked into the kitchen and gave him some space. Because after an hour trying to teach him this specific algebra lesson, you were taught with frustration. And normally he's a very attentive student. He is someone who wants to do good. He is inquisitive and generally well-mannered. And as he has grown into a full 11-year-old boy, he is beginning to test your limits. Not in the toddler or 6-year-old way anymore. This is a different way. And you can watch him mature into what will likely be a preteen here pretty shortly. And that does give you some pause. Because after an hour of him trying to understand this section of algebra, you called it quits. You walk into the kitchen and you sort of let yourself exhale. At least you let yourself exhale long enough to get the next round of questioning from your daughter, who at her age is full of energy and a need for a mother's attention. I mean, it wasn't too terribly long, probably, before that she was attached to you at the hip while you were trying to teach Carson. It was just the way of things. It's a life that you chose and have had to make do on. And so you did all of the normal things that you would do in the afternoon. Luckily, Julie napped, a rare occurrence these days. And you were able to get a handle on Carson, at least a little bit. He had finished most of his work. And as we open our camera lens on the Olsen house, it is evening. It's about 7 o'clock or so. Matthew's at work. He's been kept late. He called. This is the third time in the past 2 weeks. There's a big project that deals with some sort of condominium development that he has to be a part of. And that means that you're home alone with the 2 kids. Again, all of the domestic responsibility heaped onto your shoulders. And what you'd really like to do is punch something. You can feel just the day's frustration, and it racks through your body and your brain. And what this has caused is dinner to be late. Because frankly, you needed the hour that you took while Julie napped and Carson played video games. You needed that hour to yourself to calm down. And so I wonder, what does Leah make for dinner on a Wednesday night?
Meatloaf.
Okay, so tell me about the meatloaf that she makes.
It's basically a giant Italian meatball. It always smells remarkably good. And then for the sides, it's usually either macaroni and cheese or rice pilaf, broccoli with like a cheese sauce, or green beans that have been sauteed with bacon fat and onions and garlic, or asparagus, or honeyed carrots. Like, these are all things that are pretty normal to go with this meal, depending on like what was in the budget and what like is in the house and things like that. And then some nights I make dessert. Since dinner's late tonight, I'm not going to make dessert, but we keep like ice cream on hand, which the kids might or might not have depending on how much they eat.
Okay. You set the table, probably with Carson's help. He's 11. He can put out dishes, right?
Yeah. He also probably like gets drinks for the 3 of us, and Julie probably carries something from the kitchen with oven mitts since that's not on the table.
Okay.
And then Julie and I will do the dishes after dinner's over.
You're at dinner with Carson and Julie. And it starts. I say it because there is always something between these two that will occasionally start up when they're at the table, especially the dinner table. And for whatever god-awful fucking reason, they always start when you are on your last shred of sanity. It's like they know you have had a horribly stressful day. And worse yet, they know when their father's not in the house, it always seems like, especially from Carson, he's getting to this age now where when Matthew's not home, he acts up a little bit more and a little bit more. And it starts with just the lightest shrug from his shoulders. And you see his fork sort of begin to tip around or bounce around a little bit like he's getting distracted. And you probably get ready to say something. And this piece of meatloaf that he has, probably no bigger than a quarter, comes off his fork and lands directly in Julie's milk. And of course, Julie begins shrieking and crying because her brother has messed up her milk.
And as far as she's concerned, it was on purpose.
It seems like it. The look from Carson sure seems like it.
I don't yell or raise my voice to my children ever. I don't hit them because that would be ungodly. It's a simple way to put it. So I'm just going to look at Carson and I'm going to point upstairs. Please take your plate and go to your room.
I didn't do anything.
I don't care.
Mom, I didn't do anything. It was an accident.
I believe you, but I'm trying to calm down the situation. So if you would please take your plate upstairs.
He begrudgingly stands up. And he's not yet gained whatever height Matthew's side of the family may eventually give him. He takes his plate and he puts his fork, sort of thumb on his fork onto the plate so that way it's steady. And Julie is continuing to cry and sob about her milk. And she's making faces at Carson. And something comes out of your son's mouth that shocks you. He says, "This is bullshit." And he turns with his plate to head upstairs. I'm going to have you roll willpower. And I'm sure every parent that's listening is nodding.
What's my target number?
I'm going to say that your target number on this willpower roll is 7 and you need 2 successes.
I got 1.
Okay. You, for a moment, a single solitary moment of time, you hang on to your fury. And once that moment is gone, you are angry and you're loud. I wonder, when they say what they say, how bad will it be?
Bad. We don't even use placeholder swears in this house.
Can you tell me what you tell them? What do you say to Carson?
Plate on the counter, upstairs, lock your door.
Okay, so is there like a significance to him locking his door?
Yes. For the basically locking the doors for the children is extremely specific. It's something that I grew up with. If either parent needs a break from you as a child, the lock is basically there to signal that this is a type of timeout for everybody involved. So it's a timeout for him to calm down and deal with whatever he's going through. And it's a timeout for me as a parent, for me to be able to calm down and regroup so that way we can have a better conversation about it and resolve the issue.
So I got to tell you something. I love that idea. And I love the idea of you being able to deliver that in that manner. But that's a failed willpower roll. So while that thought and that action might be in your head, and that might be the thing that you have always set up, there might be this wonderful, orderly fucking way that you do things, you snap. And what you say to Carson is bad. So tell me what you actually say to him.
Plate on the counter, lock your door before I lock you in. And that's worse because I've never directly locked my children in their rooms before.
You blow a gasket. You feel your heart pounding. You hear the pounding footsteps of Carson going upstairs. Julie is still crying. There's a bunch of pounding going on. And then you realize that you're hearing pounding from behind you. And you turn, and just as you turn, you watch the front door be breached. And it flings wide open. And standing in the doorway threshold are 2 men dressed in dark clothes. And they enter the home before you can really react. Julie screams again. The 2 men rush you. They grab you. Are you going to fight back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Dex brawl, actually, if you're going to attack them.
That's a whole pile of nothing. Unless my target number is 6. If my target number is 6, I got 1 success.
You get 1 success. You swing. The man on the left grabs your arm. He parries your hook. The man on the right grabs you by the throat. They pick you up. And the man on the right says, "Oh, looks like you're past due on your payment, Leah." You can barely breathe. They grapple you. Julie's screams cover your ears. You can barely hear this man talk over her shrieking. They fling you into the living room, up over the couch, off the recliner. Your head bangs against the end table. Right near the end table, you see the holder for all of your crochet, yarn, projects, hooks. Yeah, so you see in a blur, because your vision blurs after having hit the recliner and the end table. You try to struggle to your feet, and a strong hand grabs the back of your head. And the man's voice says, "You've been late. You've been late a bunch now. And interest is interest. Donnie Mac's tired of waiting. And he said to come over and give you a message." They pull you to your feet. You get punched in the gut. As a boxer, you've been hit in the stomach a ton of times. But there is a vast difference between being punched by a boxing glove and being punched by a bare fist. You feel meatloaf come back up. Then you see it. They hit you again. This time in the abdomen on the side, right on the left side. Roll stamina to see if you can stay awake.
I had 2 dice. I rolled a 4 and a 6. Oh no, I have 1 success.
Yeah, you've got 1 success. So with 1 success, you barely stay conscious. You fall to your knees again. You feel the strain on your neck. One of these men have you hoisted up by your hair. You start hearing Carson's voice at the top of the stairs. Mom? Mom, what's going on? Who are you? Hey, what are you doing to my mom? You hear him implore these men to let you go. You hear the after effects of Carson hitting the floor. There is a hard flesh-on-flesh smack sound. You don't see it happen, but one of the men says, "Stay out of it, kid. Go upstairs and play your video games." And they turn on you. And the body shots that you took in the gym over countless ways of training and fighting are nothing compared to the shots you take in the face. 3, 4. Your blood's all over the carpet at this point. They finally let you go. They let you fall. One of the men says, that'll teach you. It's a little cold in here. Why don't we turn it up? They go over to a space heater that you keep in the living room because gas prices being what they are, sometimes it's a little easier to use electric heat. And so you keep a space heater near the recliner when you're allowed to relax. You hear something. You hear something get spilled out. And then you smell it. You smell yarn burning. And you slowly drift in and out of consciousness over the next few moments, the next few minutes. You feel tiny hands on your body, hands you bore into this world that were so much smaller when they first arrived. You hear Julie and Carson. You feel their tears on their face. They want to help, but they don't know how. You try to say something to them, but the words won't form on your lips. It's like your muscles are tired, and you smell acrid smoke in the air. In a last gasp of breath and consciousness, you tell them to get out of the house.
To run.
It's all you can muster. Energy ebbs slowly from your body. Smell of burning hair and burning fabric envelops you. But you're a fighter, and you keep fighting. Somehow you get to your side, and you're racked by this horrifying cough. You feel the pressure, the particulates, that ugly, fetid smoke in your lungs, and you cough. But it won't come out. You can't seem to get it out. And every time you gasp after coughing is another moment that the flames in the house grow. And we'll close our vignette window on Leah Olson there. And soon enough, meet another traveler. We are back with another Wraith vignette for our Wraith series. I will have my player introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Bunny, and I'm playing Jackie Sharp. Our pronouns are she, her.
Jackie is an interesting sort of person. She's probably the sort of person, I think, after reading a little bit about her, thank you for providing that, she feels like she'd be a great advocate for someone. If they needed somebody in their corner, Jackie would be the sort of person that you'd want to have backing you up if you had something you were struggling with. Is that accurate, you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. She's better equipped for certain kinds of advocacy or helping people, but yeah, she's definitely the type that would do what she could in times of trouble for anybody. Almost anybody.
Almost anybody.
Some people.
So maybe you could tell us that. That's a wonderful lead in there. What kind of people maybe would she not be as helpful towards?
How into capitalism as a system are they? Let's start there, actually, might be the best bet. Also, depending on if they work for the government, how high up they are in that, what side they're fighting for. Like if it's somebody who got in on a grassroots movement, maybe I help them with their movement to get there. But if it's them trying to continue more of the same, she's probably fighting actively against them right now. So she probably wouldn't be a good help for them. Also, do you wear a badge? Depends on the type of badge, but probably not the person for you.
Yep, probably not. I feel like she has such a vibrant sort of punk rock defiance about her.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about her. She deeply cares about bonds that she has with others, her likely family and found family. So what can you tell me about Jackie's family and or found family that she might have?
She doesn't speak with her father, really. It's been a couple years, though he's never been particularly easy to reach or talk to. She does have her younger sister, Mari, who she's incredibly close to, who's putting herself through law school. And I'm so proud, even if she's going to be on the wrong side of things, I'm so happy she's fighting for something. And that's great. And then there is our wonderful mother Sandy. I miss her. But she was great. She was huge and helpful. And Mari and I mostly do what we can for each other, sort of in her memory. Otherwise, I don't know, there are a few people who I'm pretty close to in the charities I work with, as well as in the punk scene, but we don't really see each other a lot outside of if there's an event going on, if we're working on something together, if we're doing work with local unions, charity events, or community events, even if it's just crafting with people at the local community center so that they have space to be.
Okay.
She doesn't have a lot of really close people, especially as close as her sister is.
Well, Mari's working very hard on that law degree. And you're a little worried today. Probably have either tied or retied the boots that you likely wear. Today's act of defiance is one which you delight in. And that's because the government has decided that what it's going to do is it's going to forcibly deport people. And at this downtown rally, you are face line-ish or so to face with ICE agents who are stern-faced and working their way, or trying to work their way, into a federal building, into a protected attorney space. And they have been in the building for a half an hour. news reports came out, local spotters, people on the streets saw vans roll up. They saw people get out of those vans with no badges, no real identification, plain clothes. But the people on the street know. They know who these people are. Word had gotten out that there was a man from El Salvador who had asked for political asylum with the local federal offices there. A DA who is understandably very open and protective of the people in his community. And after the community suffering multiple no-knock ICE raids in the past few weeks, things have come to an absolute head. They do so at the courthouse that morning. And so your people, the people that you care very much about on those front lines, have been down at the courthouse protesting what ICE is doing. And that's where you find yourself, shoulder to shoulder with the people, with your community. Obviously, the local police and the United States Marshals are here as well, as members of ICE have scared up a bunch of local law enforcement as well to try to whip them into assisting. Because as you and likely your sister would know, the protected spaces that are inside those buildings are not, all ICE is not allowed in there. But they're trying very hard to cajole, threaten, intimidate, convince these employees, these federal workers who are just trying to do their job, to open these doors and let them take these people. And it's been all over the news for the past 2 or 3 months what the administration is doing, deporting people to countries that they've never been to, they don't speak the languages at, refusing court rulings that tell the government to retrieve these people from these horrible prisons. And you and your community have decided to stand in defense of these people because you don't believe anyone is illegal. So that is the scene I will open you on. What you have in front of you is a line of about 25 or 30 community members. There is another line there of local PD and men and women dressed in essentially tactical gear who are trying to make a open walkway for people to get in and out of the federal building. Now, federal building's open today. There's common everyday traffic that's going in and out, but it has really been choked off. There's protest music playing in the background. There are people screaming and signs. For the most part, your side has stayed nonviolent. There have been some bad actors who use these situations to, act out. But the community is very focused, and they don't want violence to get control of the situation here, because the message is what's more important. I wonder how Jackie would approach this with some of the community members she does know. Like, where would her focus be?
Well, so Jackie would definitely be their battle jacket that she's decorated herself on. Duct tape, red crosses on her arms so people know that she has a first aid kit with her. Handing out Know Your Rights cards that are in multiple languages printed on them on both sides and waterproof. And organizing with my buddy Skunk, who's usually here on the scene with me, to make sure that we all are like expo sharpieing under our sleeves, directly on skin, the number for the National Lawyers Guild, since they do free legal aid for protesters, and just making sure everyone has their info. If they take that card away from you that says how to handle it, you make sure that number is something they can't remove from your body. And if you get somewhere that has a phone, you call for help if they bother listening to laws at all. Obviously, we can't do anything for when they're spiriting people away illegally against court orders, but if you end up with a phone call, if you end up in a prison, anywhere where you can get contact to the outside world, these would be people to start with.
Yep.
Just prepping people in that way. I would probably be organizing with Skunk and my friend Bobby. That's Bobby with an I. Bobby tends to help do like nonviolent protest rules for the crowd. We tend to just go with a megaphone over like holding the line, making sure that we don't let anyone get amongst our people that look like they might be violent or there to haul any of us away. Once people are ready and have like numbers sharpied on them and everything, lock arms with each other so that no one person can be pulled away from the whole group. That kind of stuff will be through like a little mini megaphone.
Sure.
Skunk and I are making sure that it's being said in a couple different languages just to make sure nobody gets left behind. We're also intermixing in there that families and children shouldn't fear because we're all neighbors welcome here and other chants, and making sure that people know that's in multiple languages and are on the same page even. So it's not just our English speaking community members, but that's the energy being put forth right now. Preparing people, teaching them where to be, how to stand together, make sure nobody gets hauled away in case stuff goes horribly awry, because it will. Making sure everybody has either masks, like good masks, or at minimum, like cheap bandanas to put over their faces, and water bottles to splash on there in case of like tear gas or anything.
Certainly, this is not your first rodeo.
Yep. That's the energy being put forth with me and my team.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's clear that that law enforcement has prepared for many different options. You see they have an armored vehicle nearby. So this is a up-armored Humvee, very similar to what we would have seen in, the wars in Iraq, and the MRAVs and whatnot come home. And this is part and parcel of the militarization of the domestic side, the law enforcement at the local city and county level. All these governmental toys, as they call them, end up in state and local hands. And then it's when people decide to speak up, suddenly it becomes a war zone because, someone decides to bring war toys to these protests. It's a complete escalation by law enforcement. It's a tactic they've used countless times. The protest side, Skunk, Bobby, you, the rest of the group, seem pretty well in sync. The chanting is loud. The locals that are here are beginning to filter in and add to what's going on. Social media is abuzz with the protests. Probably within the first 45 minutes or so, you get your first flyover from what you think is a news helicopter. A lot of people make a lot of noise for the news helicopters and for coverage, which they're hoping will be reaching other people. It has been a flashpoint, these extractions, these kidnappings, as far as you're concerned. And then you see a couple of other vehicles show up outside the federal building. These are vans, and you can see that there's extra law enforcement arriving. And I wonder if you'd give us a perception awareness roll for Jackie.
I would love to. That is not her best skill, but we're going to do that. What was the difficulty on that?
So it's perception roll, so I'll just place this one based on traffic and all of the other factors. I'll say that it's 7.
Oh, okay. Then 1 success.
Okay, 1 success. So you see or what you think are the main doors of the courthouse. The federal building here has steps that go up. And so the horizon line the height of it is a little high, so you can't really see because the doors to this building are set back from the end of the steps. And one of the things that you see is that there's a cluster of people up there that begin to be moving around. Whether that's them bringing somebody out or not, you're not sure. But something is beginning to happen out there. There's a few movements in the crowd. So there's your contingent of community members who are pretty well stuck together. And then there's another line of people who are protesting what's going on, but they're mixed. They're not in the sense that they're not all protesters. Some people are just gawking or recording stuff on, their phones and whatnot. And you hear a call go out over the music and the din. Somebody raises their voice, and the person that raises their voice is a guy you know. His name is Stan. And Stan right now is doing something that he's probably not supposed to do, but he's climbed one of the local streetlights that's downtown. And so he's 15 or so feet off the ground and kind of sort of uncatchable by most law enforcement. And he's hanging out sort of as a lookout. And you hear Stan say, "They're bringing him out." He yells it like over the crowd. And you feel the angst of the crowd pick up. You see a line of law enforcement form around the top portion of the steps. There's four or five of them right in a row. And they begin to bring someone forward. And what you see is, it's horrific. There's a man being walked out of this building. There is a bag over his head, and he is handcuffed. And he begins being marched towards the long flight of stone stairs that lead down to where the rest of you all are. And he is walking at a pace which is clear that he is being forced to walk. At some point, officers begin to sort of pick his feet up, like they lift him off the ground, and they're trying to make their way down the stairs. And you can see that he's actively struggling.
And these are the unmarked, like clearly ICE people, not local law enforcement also?
It's not local. This is definitely unmarked, unvested, no specific markings on them. They're wearing like blue jean jackets or windbreakers or, regular dark jeans. It's clear that they're armed. That's clear. But there's nothing telltale on them that says that they're part of a federal agency.
I'll nod to Skunk and will swing the chain of people around, try to get all of our linked compatriots, comrades, if you will, who are in this chain with us.
I think comrade's a good word.
Between them and the car they're carrying this man to.
So this is certainly something that Skunk has done before. He has this sort of famous move. So I'm just going to say that Skunk is not what we would call a small person. And what's great about Skunk is that he's giving of himself, in the sense that he will be happily use his body weight as leverage for any sort of problem. And so what he ends up doing is, as the man is brought forward into this throng of officers and protesters and media folks, he begins to move towards the center to block part of this aisle, to block them from being able to remove him from the grounds. And you see the first officer there try to push him back, but he's not aggressively like going after the officer. He's simply using his body weight forward. And very quickly you realize that this officer's not prepared to deal with Skunk's weight. And so he sort of tumbles in, and you hear him say like, "Oops!" Like you hear like the impossible, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do that." Like he makes a ham of it a bit, and he ends up in the center of the aisle, like on his knees, and then on his butt, and he sort of topples over, and he's still linked arms with a bunch of people. And so you see this bowling pin series of people sort of go gravitationally towards him. And then the center aisle now has a huge clot of people. And you can tell that these ICE agents are not going to be able to get out this way. And the worst part for them is, it looks like, from what you can see, this protester space that they've already cleared is going to begin sort of hemming them in behind. What do you think Jackie would do in reaction to what Skunk does?
I'll probably take any other willing bodies that are around me that weren't already part of the human chain to try to navigate. Well, Skunk is clearly playing distraction as much as he's a roadblock. I'll try to close off another path for them to get to their cars if possible. Like I'll try to go to another opening and see if I can really make them have to work for leaving.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's clear that Skunk's first thought was probably useful because as the officers start to try to close and begin to try to pick him up, which is really the only thing that they can do. I mean, 1 officer, 2 officers, 3 officers, 4 officers, and with 4 people, they still cannot lift him off the ground. They're struggling.
Dead weight, baby.
There's advantages to dead weight. You surge in a different direction with Bobby next to you as you try to block what will likely become the next clearest path for them. They're going to go through a place that doesn't have as thick of the protesters from the community, and they're going to try to move through that space, and that is where you put yourself. And sure enough, a man in a windbreaker wearing sunglasses and his left arm hooked into this man, this prisoner, begins making his way directly towards you.
I'm elbows locked with the people to either side of me, Bobby on one side, another community member on the other. And I'm not going to move. He can try to make me, but I'm not going to move before he gets here for sure.
He gets to you, and you can tell he's trying to find a way around you and around Bobby. And Bobby, continues this series of chants to him, right? And then the crowd behind you, begin to hear a lot of people start, this sort of cacophony of sound erupts behind the ICE agents about people shouting, let him go. He didn't do anything wrong. All sorts of really, really impassioned statements to try to get ICE to get out of here, that the community's just not going to allow it. And that's when you see somebody within the crowd behind him that was sort of one in the crowd of social media folks and, onlookers. You see someone cock their fist back, like they're going to hit somebody. And this is somebody on the protest side rather than on the law enforcement side. And as they do, you watch them get hit by a baton, like across the chest. And there is this snap pop of flesh from somebody being hit by a baton. And very quickly, things sort of begin to unravel from there. You start seeing other officers go to escalating force protocols. So other batons come out, people start getting shouted at. As that happens, he's still trying to press this officer in front of him, he's still trying to press his way through. And he looks at you directly and screams, "Get out of my fucking way."
Fucking make me. And I'm just going to stay linked arms. I'll look down the line of the human chain and say, "Don't break now."
Mm-hmm.
And then go back to looking at this guy in front of me. Just dead in the eyes.
The officer next to him, who's got this man by the other arm, he leans in and you watch him begin to reach out his arm at Bobby, and it appears like he's going to make physical contact with Bobby to push Bobby away. I wonder if Jackie would stop that, or if she's just going to let it happen and see what Bobby does, or
In situations like this, we're all prepared for physical contact, especially those of us who, this isn't our first rodeo. Being pushed, shoved, potentially even punched or otherwise assaulted is on the table. So when we see somebody getting ready to make physical contact with us, especially in a situation like this, me and the person to Bobby's other side, if we can catch eyes, we'll sort of sure up and tighten our grip with each other's elbows to if Bobby gets pushed to help keep Bobby up.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what I'll have you do is make a strength roll when Bobby gets pushed, because they are getting shoved.
Just pure strength?
Just pure strength.
Hey, a 10 and an 8, baby. That's pretty good.
Gonna roll this officer's strength. I net 1. So you get taken along a little bit for the ride. Bobby gets pushed, and it's so forceful that you get yanked towards them, and the line moves a little bit irregularly for a second. The officer uses that opportunity to call for help. And you hear him say, "Clear these people the fuck out of here. We got to get out now." And this is obviously with the background of clear assaults happening by law enforcement on protesters at this point. And you hear the first sort of pop plunger sound of tear gas being fired. And that's when like calls go up from people to mask up, and you get gas calls. You know, Stan is still sitting on the light post. He's calling out to people, letting them know, cover up, get ready.
Goggles down.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
Bobby doesn't have a chance to get their goggles down because they're currently teetering on being flattened against the concrete. The push from the officer turns into something worse. And you watch as this officer as you're facing the man from assumably from the man from El Salvador, from his left, you watch that officer who pushed Bobby begin to double up, basically begin to push the advantage. And you watch his boot come up like he's going to step on Bobby to make a pathway through. I wonder if that is a bridge too far for you.
Yeah. Jackie. So Bobby's down, right? But I'm not.
Yeah, so you're basically leaned over, like almost at a 45-degree angle, because Bobby has not let go of your arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're pretty well far back at this point.
Looking up at the person on Bobby's other side, still has that elbow too?
Yes, but it's wavering for sure.
Oi, hoist. I'll try to like get us to pull Bobby up because it's harder to step on someone who's standing or moving.
That's very true. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll say that you need 4 material successes to raise Bobby up. I will roll for the community member on the other side of Bobby.
Is this something that I could willpower?
Absolutely. If you'd like to spend willpower, that's probably a really good idea based on what I rolled.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to do that. How much willpower am I allowed to spend on a roll like this? I forget.
Technically just 1.
Okay. Then I'm going to spend that 1.
Okay.
So that's 2 successes, but considering I only have a strength of 2, that's pretty decent still.
Is that 2 successes with the willpower?
Oh, that's 3 successes.
Okay. So you get 3 successes on the roll. The total you would need is 4. The community member who is on the other side of Bobby did not generate any material successes. So their arm link breaks. And when that happens, it's like a floodgate. Bobby receives a size 13 boot on their chest. And when they do, you watch this ice agent press their entire body weight forward onto Bobby's chest to move past them. And Bobby screams as they get trampled.
As soon as it's clear, boot, chest are making contact,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna drop the link as quick as I can.
Okay.
Because it's only gonna be worse if they're being held up on one side, right? So I'll drop that. Though I am very tempted, since I'm halfway hunched over anyway, to put my body weight forward and try to just knock this guy stepping on my friend over.
How tempted are you?
I'm gonna do it.
Okay. So I'm going to let you roll Strength Brawl.
I'm gonna spend another willpower, by the way.
Yeah, do it.
3 successes.
Okay. I don't have any successes. And so I will have you roll Strength +1, and then we'll add in your material successes.
1.
So 2. Okay. So your intention is to also deal with him. So please, narratively, go ahead and take this.
I was already bent half over, trying to get Bobby up. But letting go of my linked arm, I'm in a great position to rush this guy who's stepping on Bobby's chest. And I'm going to put my full body weight and pivot that foot that I had anchored to stay up to lunge forward. And I'm going to try to basically tackle this guy off Bobby. I don't care that we both are going to end up on the ground together. It gets his weight off of Bobby's chest expediently, which means Bobby can still breathe and hopefully not have too many cracked ribs and roll out of the way, I hope, for the love of God.
So a couple things happen. You press your advantage, your leverage, your weight into this off balance, because based on where you're at, he's a little bit off balance because he's so far forward, of course, on that left foot on Bobby's chest. When you push on sort of I would imagine the back right of him, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking back right, and because of my angle, probably getting him mostly like around the lower torso or waist.
So, but still, like there's damage in the maneuver in the sense that you're pushing him forward, pushing body weight, and what happens to him? So he goes left, hard left, based on that. His weight will come off Bobby, and he falters to the ground, and you can hear a heavy sort of grunt from him as he impacts into the ground. And you, leverage-wise and weight-wise, gravity takes hold of the both of you, and you topple forward. Things get a little strange from at that point. You see in front of you Bobby struggling, hands going to their neck and chest, and they protectively try to roll over. The sound gets dimmer in here. Everything behind you sort of drowns out. The blood in your ears thunders, and everything else, minus this ice agent, bleeds away a little bit. And you hear the snap of a baton as it gets extended behind you. And so what I will offer you, the player, is, albeit a hindered one, a dex dodge roll to get out of the way of something that's coming to you.
If I kind of wanted to put my my arms up around my head as I do that, would that be acceptable?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So the baton does connect with you. And it will do strength plus a certain amount. So you'll want to roll stamina now. Okay. So I have some news for you. You get hit in the back across the shoulder blades and the top portion of your spine there at the shoulders by an asp. And you're going to take 4 boxes of bashing damage. Pain blossoms at the top of your back and runs all the way down your spine. You feel for a moment a disconnection between your skull and the 2 eyes you have sitting in it. You feel your entire head vibrate. You sort of lose a little bit of your balance. Like inner ear balance completely goes. You begin to gasp for breath. It's quite a strike. But I'm wondering what Jackie does next. Certainly want to give her the opportunity.
How hard is speaking right now?
I would say that it's difficult but possible. So if you were going to attempt to make any sort of social-based roll, then you would be down dice based on your wound penalties.
I would try to tell Bobby to fall back.
Okay. So you can seriously take a social action, and you can make any type of charisma or social skill-based roll and just either do one of 2 things. Either spend a will and ignore your wound penalties, or roll with penalties. Totally up to you.
Okay, I'm going to roll with penalties. I'm going to do manipulation because I'm persuasive, and I know that they're not going to want to leave. So I'm trying to convince them to do something that's actively what they don't want to do. So it feels more manipulation-y.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely sounds like manipulation and persuasion.
3 successes.
Okay. So What are you screaming? What are you calling out to them to do?
You have to fall back. You have to fall back, regroup at base. Because obviously, at a situation like this, we wouldn't all be operating strictly from here. We probably have, one, between the charity we work for, just practice, we probably have a first aid table and supplies nearby and sort of a rally meetup point about 3 blocks away. I'm hoping that they'll try to get out of Dodge, to try to get out of in front of this courthouse before this happens to more people. That's about as coherent as I'm thinking right now. Is they have to fall back, they have to regroup. If they've escalated to this point already, in addition to the tear gas, people are going to need first aid. Fall back, regroup at base.
You get this feeling as you call that out. You feel like more people need to hear you. And even through the pain, you realize that like if you could just get to your megaphone, more people would hear you. The agents that are around you and around this man now try to drag him beyond Bobby and many of the people who are still in this tight sort of space, right? They're beyond the linked arm people at this point. Bobby is still very much managing a fetal position, having been what looks like seriously hurt. They pass you, the agents, with this man. You watch him, you hear him crying, just begging them to stop.
Can I try to trip them with my body?
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably Dex Brawl to trip somebody.
1 success because of my penalties.
So you try, and you nearly trip one of these sort of brutish ICE agents. And they extricate their leg from, your attempt at trip. And this officer has a baton in his hand. And he looks back at you as the group has moved beyond the throng of people with this just absolute unfortunate soul that's been caught up in such a horrific thing. And when he turns to you and lifts his right arm, you see something tattooed into his bicep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very particular mark. It's a mark that a group of people have used before. Probably not the one our audience is thinking of. So I will describe it rather than say it, because I do not want to give them any sort of specifics. So I will say that it is a Roman wreath, 2 Roman wreaths, and there is in the middle of it a pairing of letters. And that pairing of letters is indicative of a hate group, one that you know, and one that has long since been inside of law enforcement. And you see that image of that tattooed skin in your mind a second before the baton comes for you. And so, if you would like to, with dice penalties, make some sort of dodge roll, I'm happy to allow you.
Willpower again.
How much willpower you got, Jackie?
I have 2 points remaining after this. It's still 1 success, though.
Okay. So I net 4. A moment before the lights go out, you hear Skunk, and you hear him echo out the call you made about getting medical. You see, as you turn to try to turn away from the baton, you see someone grab Bobby and begin to lift them up. And as you turn to get away and protect yourself from the baton strike coming, your vision spiders like glass. It starts very simply at the left side of your vision. And then all these tiny lightning bolts trace their way from left to right across your vision, slowly, surely, painfully, as reality is shattered into 1,000 pieces, as is consciousness, as is Jackie Sharp. And so now we know at least how Jackie Sharp died. An activist, defiant till the end.
I only have one regret. I didn't spit on that guy before the baton hit me that last time.
That's a fair regret to have, but regret is something that stays with us in Wraith. So I want to thank my player, Bunny, for playing Jackie Sharp. I hope you had a good time, and we will catch up with Jackie on the other side of the shroud. We are back with another vignette in our Wraith the Oblivion 20th Anniversary Edition series, and I have a wonderful player joining us, and I will let them introduce themselves and let them tell us who they're playing.
Hi, I'm Pesto Mystic, and I will be playing Una Korb. She is this wonderful, athletic, but very reclusive character, kind of short hair. She's got abs for sure. Yeah, I think she's ready to sort of explore a little bit about herself, a little bit about her life, and what she wants to leave behind, if anything.
Well, we're going to find out. So what I like to do with all of these is get a sense of who the people are during the day. So is Una a morning person?
Oh, yeah, she loves to wake up very early in the morning and go for an early morning jog after feeding her cat.
Well, what's the cat's name?
Terry.
Okay. What kind of cat is Terry?
It's a very long-haired tuxedo kitty cat.
Fantastic. So, morning jog, do you figure it's 20 minutes? Is it an hour? What's the cardio time?
Oh, she's very precise. It's definitely 20 minutes. A little bit, just around the block, only locally around the block. Never makes eye contact, just goes straight from her condo around the block and then straight back into her condo.
Okay, so she has a condo. So I guess my question then would be as far as work goes, what does Una do for a living?
She is a postal service worker, so she just delivers mail. She delivers other people's mail. It gives her a very quiet space that she can keep to herself and think about things to herself, just going about her routine.
Yeah, absolutely. So postal service work is also, in some ways, I would imagine, slightly solitary because you're either driving or you're walking a route. You're not necessarily forced to interact with a ton of people. And also, most people are reasonably happy to see you, even though they likely don't directly interact with you outside of a wave. So that job likely is probably like a midday to late afternoon, I would imagine. So you get up reasonably early, you do your 20 minutes of cardio, and then what happens? You probably have a gap of a few hours. So in that time, what does Una spend their time doing?
Oh, more boring stuff in her condo. She goes directly home, feeds her cat again, and then this time she jogs, but with weights on her ankles. Ooh, she likes to switch it up sometimes. She has like a weighted vest sometimes, or she has like weights on her wrists. And then at night, she just likes to cuddle up on the couch and watch Hallmark movies with Terry and sort of fantasize that people are what those Hallmark movies make them out to be, very cheesy and very kind and open.
Okay, so you probably have then a collection of movies, yeah?
Yeah, like from the $5, $1 bins. They're DVDs, not Blu-rays. She never updated to Blu-rays.
Okay. And then I get the sense, given that she's really fit, that she probably does yoga.
Yes, yeah, she has to be a little bit limber. A little bit of yoga, a little Pilates.
So one morning between feeding the cat and cardio, you probably have set aside some time, scheduled, of course, because likely she keeps things pretty well organized. You go into a yoga routine. So what kind of mat do you think she has? What color mat does she have?
It's a purple mat. It's very, very thin. She doesn't need anything that's cushiony or anything like that. It just has to be just enough to keep her from the wood floor.
You put on any music while you do it, or is this something she just plugs away at with the stillness of the apartment?
It's with the stillness of the apartment. She plays plenty of music when she's on her job, but not when she's doing yoga.
Sure. So you go into cat-cow, which is a very standard beginning yoga pose. So you're down on all fours on the mat, and you've slightly arched your back and shoulders. Your head is up, and so you're feeling this stillness and the energy there, and you give it a few breaths, and then you begin to arch your back in the opposite fashion. Your head goes down, your back arches out, and then you push very slowly with your hands against the mat, and you begin to make downward dog. And so thankfully only the cat sees your butt go into the air as you begin the work to limber your body up. And because you are so fit and so good at it, you easily, not but 15 or 20 seconds later, go into a standing forward fold and eventually rise, much like the mountain, into a full stretch with your arms all the way out and above your head. And you feel the energy release out of your back and just the perfect amount of pressure that allows you to do that standing back bend. And you bend back. You take your arms all the way back to that 45-degree angle. You feel the energy come forward, and then with a single and careful pose, your knee comes forward. Left, of course, left knee comes forward, left foot comes forward, and you feel the power of that first warrior pose. Arms still high above your head, left knee and left foot forward, and you're sort of leaning forward. And your arms then extend out, one ahead and one behind in this very traditional warrior pose. You're in the moment. You are already at your 7th pose, and you feel this slightest twinge at your collar. It's a under the skin, nervous, sort of nerve twinge that you feel. And for just a moment, the peaceful space within inside the apartment that exists ripples. It takes you off for a moment. You stay in pose. You stay where you're supposed to be, but your mind flutters back and forth to the pain for a moment. And then you feel just the slightest amount of pressure on your chest. You breathe in and then carefully out. You've done 4-fold breathing before, and so you begin a standard 4 count. You draw in breath, you mentally count to 4. You try very hard to ignore the pain that you are feeling, or perhaps your brain is perceiving. And then you exhale, long, slow, even, and it's gone. I wonder if Una continues with yoga.
Yeah, Suna's going to take a moment to reflect on that, but immediately continue with yoga. Nothing's different, nothing's new. I don't need to think about that.
You can hear the cat in the background seemingly to urge you forward. Warrior 3 is a complex pose. It involves placing your hands together in sort of a spear point, and you extend them out, and your entire top half of your body has to come forward, and your right leg has to extend out behind you. You stand on one leg doing it. It is an exceedingly difficult pose, but you weather it, and you begin to gain confidence from that weathering. And then the next few moves come very swiftly. Triangle, half moon, all sorts of these very aerobic, long stretches, different portions of your body, one hand down on the floor, one hand all the way in the sky, and you're sort of tilted over. And then sort of these extended side angle poses, really stretching the lumbars and the ab muscles that you have. And then the chair pose, which many people dislike. But Una does it because it is part of the routine. and that's important. It is more important to feel that you can get through it and stay on schedule. You then find yourself face down on the mat as you would, and then you rise into Cobra. Full stretch of the back at the waist, palms down on the yoga mat with your head and upper body held high. And you stretch and stretch. And you feel something inside you compress. Something inside your chest hammers. And then hammers again. And you hear the soft mew of your cat. And you feel it again. And that's when your pulse goes completely wild.
Una's going to attempt to break the pose and go for the phone.
Okay. You come to your knees and you place your hands and you pull your lower body in so that you can get to the phone. Where's the phone?
It's a corded phone on the kitchen counter behind her.
You turn, you go to the corded phone. You reach out for it. When you reach out for it, a crushing pain slams into your chest. You feel like someone grabs you with a vice grip. But you get the phone off of the cradle. It clatters to the floor. Your vision swims. You can hear this tone in the background. This dial tone. It's somewhat distant. You fumble for the phone on the floor. You can feel the plastic casing, the lit numbers, the tiny little iridescent numbers that dance back and forth, but your thumbs get to the buttons. Who are you calling?
911.
You press the 9, you press the 1, and then you press the 1 again. You feel your neck become gelatinous. You fall over onto the floor. A few moments pass. You hear a woman's voice, clear as day, as if she's standing next to you, say, 911, what is your emergency?
Hello, I think, I need an ambulance.
Is anyone there? What is your emergency?
Yeah, hi. I think I need a hospital. Hello? Hello?
You continue to ask for help. The voice on the other end of the line eventually says, we're sending someone to the address right away. But you hear it as if it comes from a distant space. You feel in your hands the phone just seems to fall out of them. Like you don't have a good grasp of that phone anymore. You don't feel the pain in your chest anymore. You don't feel anything. You hear the dial tone of the phone, and somewhere in the distance, something is wailing, some siren, but you don't know where it comes from. I think the next time we see Una, things will have changed. We are back with the final installment of our Wraith 20th Anniversary Edition, Wraith the Oblivion game. We have our final character, and I am pleased to welcome the player to my right.
Hi, this is Skip. I'm going to be playing Connor Young, a pianist by trade.
Fantastic. Okay. So I think as we like to do with all of these vignettes, we like to get to know the character themselves. Given the fact that you're a musician, a very specific type of musician, I wonder if you could give me, and the audience, of course, sort of a flavoring of Connor the person and then also Connor the professional. Who is he? What does he do? And why does he do it?
Connor is a pianist prodigy. He began playing the piano at the ripe old age of 5 years old, and he wrote his first piece of music at 7. He was 10 when he started playing for the local high school orchestra. They recruited him. They needed a pianist, and he was available and just took right to it. A couple years after that, he was actually playing with Roanoke Symphony, one of their talent agents or whatever. just happened to come by their concert, seeing their daughter play, and then was just amazed at Connor's ability to tickle the ivories. So they brought him on as a part-timer to fill in when the normal pianist was out. And then he has just, from that point, moved up to permanent whenever he was at home. Connor graduated at 18 and he went to Juilliard. Got a free ride there. And he also began to pick up other instruments as well, but his piano was always his favorite. He started writing for others. He really got into the writing part of it. And in fact, his style is more Chopin than anything else. And he ended up writing some songs for some of the big names at the time, like Taylor Swift, Garth Brooks. He was not genre specific. If he had an idea, he wrote it down. And his agent just kind of threw it out there and see what happened. Even though he was successful that way, he was not successful in the social world. With his status and everything, he was not the most liked person. He was a little cocky when he was a kid. With talent comes that bravado, and it did not rub the people of his small town very well. So he was picked on. He was bullied. He never really had a good friend while he was in elementary school all the way up until he started with the Roanoke Symphony. And he met Beth, and Beth became his best friend and eventually his fiance.
So tell me just a little bit about Beth. Who is she? Why does she matter so much to Connor?
Beth has been a great influence for Connor's bravado. She tries to keep him on the level. She recognized his talent immediately. And they began as friends. They just sat around and they talked. She's a violinist, so that's how they met in the symphony. And she's a really good violinist, not on the level of Connor as far as a performer or a writer, but she holds her own. But she tried to do her best to encourage him, to set boundaries for him when they were out, with conversations and stuff like that. And then she tried to help Connor a little bit with the other way he was coping with his lack of friendship and everything, and that's alcohol. Connor used to drink a little bit. He started young when he shouldn't have been drinking, but he kind of tried to keep it in check, but every once in a while he kind of got away from it. He wasn't a hard liquor drinker. He always enjoyed wine. It was wine that was the key. He would tell himself over and over again, it's just wine. It's not, whiskey. It's not Patron. It's not, any of the really, really hard moonshine, which you could get over two counties over. It was just wine. So he would always console in his mind, well, it's not that bad.
Right. Yeah. It's just wine. It's just another glass of wine. It's not a big deal. So what we're going to do then, now that we know a little bit about Connor and some of the things that have affected his life, and certainly for the good or probably for the bad, we're going to open the curtain tonight as Connor is wrapping up playing a gig at a club. So songwriting being what it is, and the music business being what it is, living paycheck to paycheck is kind of the deal unless you're a studio musician. And even if you're a studio musician, you usually have sets of projects that you work on, and you might have some downtime between one's here and one's there. And you have spent time between Nashville and LA and recording places in the hills outside of Denver. And you probably spent time occasionally in New York and on the East Coast, certainly all the way down the Piedmont, playing in all sorts of different places. You're in a club tonight that is outside of Indianapolis. And this club is kind of your style of place. It's not too trendy necessarily, but the people here have a real passion and love for music. And the reason why you're here is because a lot of the country musicians that are based south of here, especially, of course, into Nashville and some of these other places, Memphis, etc., they're all dealing with the same problem right now, which is the cost of living in those spaces has just gone up astronomically. And they can't always keep a roof over their heads, let alone cash in their pocket for, well, just say sundry items as is necessary without going on tour occasionally. And you got plugged into a couple places that were playing in Fort Wayne, playing outside of Indy. Maybe they were playing in South Bend, closer to Chicago. You got plugged into this group of people that play together. They play all sorts of different types of music. But one of the things that you have gotten into is the sort of this connection probably with some of the more early childhood music that you got to play around the family. Because listen, everybody likes Chopin, of course, an amazing artist behind the Ivories, but clubs and stuff like that are probably a little bit more tuned into something that's a bit up-tempo. And there's been this huge resurgence of blues and bluegrass music. And that's certainly something that you can get into. And the club tonight has been unbelievable. You have begun to, over the past couple of days and nights at this club, been able to pack in quite the audience. And the club owner, a gentleman by the name of Al, has been over the moon about you and a couple other players that have been taking the stage on and on. Now, sometimes you play solo just to keep, background music in this club during the slower periods, right? And that's when you get to really be sort of verbose with your fingers and play different styles of music. It doesn't always have to be bluegrass. Maybe you can move into jazz. And then, well, if the jazz book opens up a little bit, I can really stretch what I want to do. For the evening, as you're preparing sort of for like the final few songs, this group has an array of people in it, and they are asking for a song that is a little bit traditional, quite a bit Southern, and they want to know if Connor can handle it.
Connor will just look at him and say, there's not a piece of music that I couldn't play. He'll kind of push his glasses up on his nose, as he said, with a little cheeky smile, because he knows sometimes he could be a little bit overbearing. And he tries to say it in a joking way to not come across as condescending or anything like that. But he said, what's the piece?
It's called Walk on Hot Coals.
Is Connor familiar with that?
Well, I think you are familiar with it. So I'm going to say, based on what I believe, I'm going to say that you probably know a more, like a slightly newer version of this song. You probably know it by the Rory Gallagher version of it. Comes out in 1973. And you know that it's probably plucked from songs written years and years and years ago. But it is a song that a lot of people have sung over the years. And it's got a lot of piano in it. And they're sort of joking about it being a Southern song. But you know it. And you also know that it's got a really strong section for the piano. In fact, it's even got a solo. So they launch into it after you say, yeah, I know it. And the crowd takes to it real quick. It's blues rock, basically. And you can hear the singer and the guitar player who's using an acoustic right now. And so there's an extra sort of layer of melody that gets placed into it. And you probably have had a couple glasses of wine at this point to ease your fingers and ease your brain. I wonder if you feel like Connor would have chosen to maybe earlier in the night have drinks before you got on stage.
Yeah, he would probably at least have one glass of wine. Probably a white Zinfandel today, which is usually his go-to. He would maybe, if he's feeling the crowd or just kind of watching, from before they start, see how big the crowd's going to be. If he feels like it's going to be a bigger crowd, he'll take one more. If it's a lighter crowd, then he'll just stick with the one.
Do you feel like, based on the door, based on the people that you're seeing here, that you might hit capacity in this room?
Then it'll be definitely 2 full glasses. Probably half a bottle, I would say.
Okay. By the time the show cycles forward and goes through a couple of sets and you're finally getting close to, I don't know, maybe 20 songs in at this point in the night, I'm going to guess that you've probably had 3 or 4 drinks continuing on there. Not that it's not a problem. It's not a problem for you. you've had 5, 6, 7, 10 or so glasses of wine before. You perfectly within reason to do that. And I mean, you nail it. You nail the solo. You nail every moment on stage that you can. And you get a bunch of encore calls, which of course the band is happy to do all sorts of different songs during the encore. They could do anything from like a pure country song. They could even do a Bowie song. The talent here is pretty stretched. It's the after portion of the show that changes for you. The come down off of stage and the exhilaration and the endorphins mixed with the wine is something else. Al, the bar owner, wants you guys to hang out. It's already reasonably late into the night. It's probably 1 a.m., maybe 1:30. And the band is more than happy to oblige. They definitely want to stay. Al starts talking about, figuring out how we can get you all back in the next few months, and would love to have you we'll put up some more posters around town, and we'll get on the radio and all the stuff we can do on this. He doesn't even say social media. He probably says internet to really, see about making it a real big deal. During this, you realize that the room, just for a second, there's a bit of a hitch in your vision. Like as you look around, you realize, okay, I didn't see everything correctly. So when I panned to the left and I looked over to the bar and I saw this really nice looking girl at the bar who's been staring at me and the rest of the band for half the show, it was like a couple frames were missing from the camera movement. And so you have to readjust a little bit. One of the band members, a guy by the name of Matt, sort of taps you on the shoulders, one of your guitar players. Hey, you all right?
Matt, can you hand me a little bit of water? I'm feeling a little bit dehydrated, I think.
Yeah, you bet. He reaches over and grabs this sort of beer pitcher that has water in it. He takes a sort of frosted red Coca-Cola glass, fills it up, and sets it in front of you.
He'll just drink about half of it and just kind of bat his eyes around, pull his glasses off, clean them off. Like it's his nervous habit, so he continuously does that. Just see if he can refocus and say, okay, probably maybe just between the heat and the wine and the sweat, and it's just dehydration.
It's dehydration. You'll be all right. You just need to have a little bit more water.
I think it was a good concert, though. What do you think, man?
Oh, man. He turns to you and he sort of scratches his forehead and he goes, if we can do Lafayette, maybe we can get to Cleveland. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's in Cleveland.
Yeah.
If we can get places out there to recognize, just like this place here, we can set up a whole fucking tour of these states and clean up before we head to Nashville. I'm looking for steady gigs.
Got an idea while we were playing. We maybe can add like a fiddle to this. My fiance is a violinist. She's really good. So.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. She could pick up pretty much anything. She's more classical, but she loves country music. I mean, to the point where she followed Garth on tour a couple of years ago. I mean, I didn't see her for like 2 months.
You got to be careful out on tour like that, man. That's...
Well, her and her friends, it's a musician thing, Talent recognizes talent, I guess.
We do. You got talent, that's for sure. All right, well, listen, we're going to pile out of here, but the next show is in a couple days, and just, meet us in Lafayette, and we should be good.
We're good.
He stands up, and he stops by. Each one of the band members, and in turn, stop by Al's space at the bar, and there's some sort of financial transaction that takes place. You don't make a ton of cash for these gigs, but you make enough to get to where you need to go for the next town. You gas in your car and stuff like that.
He'll just kind of watch everybody leave one by one. He's going to be the last to leave. He'll just continue to drink. He's going to hold off on the wine because he recognizes there's a point where he's, needs a little bit more of the H2O version to get back up to driving speed. So he'll take his time and maybe eat some of the beer, the pretzels and stuff like that.
You do the thing that you have done countless times before, which is you have a glass of water, you have some pretzels, you take 20 minutes, 30 minutes after folks have left, and you realize, well, it's closing time here. I'm going to have to get out. So you stand up, zero issue, walk over towards the bar, and Al sort of looks at the clock and goes, planning on closing out?
Yeah, it's time to go. I need to get some sleep.
All right, my friend. Puts $250 in your hand. So we had a hell of a door, and I want to thank you for coming out and being a part of it.
No problem, and thank you for having me. I always love playing here.
Yeah, we'll have you back. I mean, this place, Lucky Star doesn't look like much, but we're starting to rock now.
Glad to be part of it, my friend.
He pats you on the shoulder and, sees you walk out the door. I wonder what kind of car Connor drives.
Connor drives his dad's old car. Now, his dad loved classic cars. Dad's favorite movie was Smokey and the Bandit. So it's not the black and gold bird. It's not the black car with the gold bird. It's kind of like a metallic, shiny blue with the golden bird on it.
It's like maybe an electric blue.
Electric blue, yeah. It's got the T-tops. That was his dad's car. When his dad passed, he got it. And that is his baby. Next to the piano he's got at home, this is his second baby.
Mm-hmm. I see that. I can imagine. I can see it in my mind's eye right now. Obviously you're going to have all the, it's going to be well taken care of. It's going to look fantastic.
Like it came off the line yesterday.
Now you get in and start her up. You're going to have to let the engine warm just a little bit before you get it moved out into the space that you want to. But it has never sounded better than it does right now.
Purring like a kid. What's Connor feeling today? Connor's feeling a little George Thorogood. So he'll pop that cassette in, because it's still got a cassette deck in it.
Sure.
And that's what he'll roll back to the place he's staying.
Yeah, you're probably staying at a place just on the outside of town, based upon the amount of money that you're probably spending for the room night. I imagine it's a, Motel 6 or something like that. It's probably something that's $70 a night or whatever it is to stay, $7 or $80.
It's got continental breakfast though, so
it sure does. Yeah, I know you hit the gas and you take off from the Star and make your way through the roads. The city itself is, of course, deader than a doornail. There's nobody here. And as you move through the city, you move towards the county highway road, which is going to lead out towards the Motel 6, which is where it sits at before it joins up with the interstate. Nice part about the place you pick is because you can take off from there in the morning and get right onto the highway and be good to go. The lights so these sodium lamps overhead that are on telephone poles and other utility poles that are nearby are a little brighter than they normally would be. They feel a little brighter. They give you some pretty decent sized halos as you drive past them. Stoplights are extra green, extra red. You can just sort of feel it. And you're thanking your lucky stars that you had some water and you had some pretzels, because as you get the locomotion of this machine going, you can tell you must have had a lot of wine back there. And you get this rhythm in your head. And you can feel this rhythm. And your brain does what it always does. You start hearing a song. Maybe it was the songs tonight that were inspirational. Maybe it was what's going on in the tape deck. But there is something else in your head now. And if you can just get to your tablet, you can at least take some quick notes, because Lord knows if it's going to stay in your head or if you're going to lose it sleeping in tomorrow morning. Where do you keep your music tablet?
It's going to be in the bottom of his suitcase when he's not in the hotel. And if he doesn't have it out, he always tucks it away. In fact, he's got one of those. His dad called it the Oscar Goldman briefcases type suitcase. So it has like a little hidden compartment, not very big, but enough to slide in a tablet and a couple of bucks, you know. His dad always said, always carry a little bit extra because you never know when you have to call that cab or your car won't start or something like that.
Okay. You dig it out. It takes a little bit, but you dig it out. Just go to an app that you have on it to help you sort of key in some major scale work that you can feel it. You sort of tap out the beats per minute that you feel that the song is probably going to sit at, the rhythm itself, and you grab a hold of the wheel and you're sort of steadying the car's wheel. And there's this long and sort of slow, graceful left curve that comes up. It's not even sharp, simple and easy. And as you're tapping along with the tablet, you watch the tablet sort of just because of the leather seats, and there's not a ton of console here in the middle between these buckets. And so it just begins to just slides right on the seat, right off the console, and it slides down. And because you are who you are, you panic a little bit because that tablet has got your musical life on it. What do you do?
Connor will just hold the wheel in the left hand, reach for the right, and he'll constantly do the eye thing, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
He recognizes he's taken his drive a little bit before, so he'll back off the gas just a little bit, just instinctively, and just kind of reach down and just say to himself, I need to record this too. I need to record the beat. Let me hit the little audio recorder on it. He's thinking that himself as he's grabbing it. That way it'll help him remember it, at least the taps, you know. And that's what he did. He's kind of reaching and looking. And
you reach, you feel the edge, that sort of slick edge of the tablet, and you're able to pull it forward. And your thumb depresses the record button. And you correct a little bit with your left hand when it comes to the road. A road you traveled a couple of times, so you know what the curve looks like. You've already come off the gas a little bit. You grab at the tablet, the record button goes down, and you start giving it that wonderful information that you swear will be the next amazing song. In the rearview mirror, you're struck by very bright light. They're up high, bright white. It's as if there's a large truck behind you, and it is suddenly very close.
All right. What the hell is that dude doing? And while he's recording this, he's going to say, Beth, I'm going to send this to you. See if you can write it needs something else, but this could be it. And he'll just take his finger off of that. And then, is it a 2-lane road? I'm assuming it's a 2-lane road.
It is absolutely a 2-lane road.
Connor's in a good mood. He might mess with this person a little bit. So he's going to just kind of slow down a little bit.
Okay. You slow down a little bit. The truck gets immediately much closer to your back end. And you start to see the truck's lights flash. Now it's a 2-lane road, double yellow, so you know that the truck legally can't pass you. And you sort of probably get a little bit of a chuckle from that.
He'll move up to the speed limit. That's not an inch over it.
No, you move up to the speed limit. And as you move up to the speed limit, you see that the truck is slowly but assuredly continuing to gain speed. You see coming up ahead, there's a car coming towards you. It's probably 6 or 8 lengths cars ahead. It's still got a little bit before it arrives. You see those lights coming at you. Oncoming traffic. Oncoming traffic. You see on your side mirror, driver's side mirror, there's another second light. And you see something appear on your left in that lane, another vehicle. And you see that vehicle speed up to come alongside you. as if they're going to pass you because you're not going fast enough.
And the truck is still behind me?
It is.
Connor doesn't want that dude to, whoever it is, to scratch his hood, so he will just ease off the gas just a little bit. Hopefully he'll just zoom by, pass in, be Mr. Nice Guy.
So this vehicle gets alongside of you, and because you're a driver, because you're riding there, you're checking him, you're seeing the oncoming car that's going to, this guy's really got to complete whatever the hell he's doing, or somebody's going to be in trouble. He gets up right alongside of you, and as this driver gets alongside of you and turns, you get this image of a man dressed in black from head to toe. Black leather jacket, black t-shirt, skinny, dark hair, slightly paler skin. And he gets alongside you, and instead of passing you, he stays there.
And the other car is still coming at us from...
It is. And in slow motion, the car that's coming at you begins to swerve. The driver of that other car swerves not to his right, but to his left, to completely bail out of the entire country road, but to do so crossing oncoming traffic. You are going to be forced to hit the brakes, which is, I would imagine, likely what Connor does.
Instinctively, yeah.
You hit the brakes. You hear and smell the rubber from that beautiful car left over from your father hit the road. Long, strong tire screeching. You feel first the impact from the semi, which pushes in the back end of the car. It pushes your body forward just slightly. You hang on to the wheel and you try very hard to turn out of what's happening. The oncoming car is a Jeep Grand Cherokee. You can see the words Jeep emblazoned on the front of it. And as your intoxicated mind tries to grapple with how to do something that really a sober person would have a very difficult time doing, you bail out as best you can to the left, fearing that they might not give you room for you to go right. And the two vehicles collide head on. And the last vestiges of consciousness, as they're ripped from your body, give you the impression that the air outside is very cold tonight. The symphony that plays in your ears is that of shattered glass and screeching metal. And somewhere on a highway in Indiana, your forms lays out on the side of the road. And that's the last we're going to see of Connor until the group is together. And so I want to thank Skip for joining us for his Wraith vignette. I hope you enjoyed meeting Connor, and we'll see you all in the first episode. Thanks, and good night.